Before we do anything else, you
Yes.
better tell everybody where we've been.
I broke my shoulder.
Oh, no. Tell us more.
I fell down the stairs in our house. It was very dramatic. It was honestly the most painful thing I've ever experienced. And I broke it in 3 places, right up in the humerus, like the top, the round part inside the socket. And it kind of knocked me for a loop for quite a while. And it was terrible.
Well, we are really glad that you're on the mend.
Me too.
We missed you.
I'm glad to be back. I'm really glad to be back. Let's talk a little bit about today's book. I want to start with a question for you, Ashley. Do you think that most rebels actually are set out to be rebels, or what?
I mean, I feel like no. I read a book once that said rebels are people where you can't make them do anything they don't want to do, and neither can they. I feel like that might be kind of unintentional.
Right? Like sometimes something you're living your life, right? You're out there, you're doing things, you're making the choices you make, and then suddenly you're the one that's breaking all the rules, right?
Which is literally Annie's story.
It is. Her book is an incredible, powerful story of love in a time and a place where that relationship was just not acceptable.
All right, let's bring her in.
Let's bring her in.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've never done anything like this, so this is
Yay.
exciting and a little scary, but I'm sure I'll do fine.
Well, Annie, I have to ask, were you always a rule follower growing up, or did you have a little rebellious streak hiding in there somewhere?
I kind of had to be a rule follower because my parents were so strict. So I really had to be, though my best friend reminds me that there were many times that we would drive in the cemetery and have a cigarette.
Oh,
Or she worked at the local little record store in the very small town we lived in. And we would have a cigarette in the very back
Oh, my
because if you had a cigarette and you were a cheerleader, you would be kicked off the team.
Oh.
Yes. And there were some girls that were kicked off for smoking.
So a little tiny rebel in there.
Yes. And so I think on some level, a little bit, but I think how this all culminated was more accidental.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would have been right there
Yeah.
with you, sneaking a cigarette in the back.
I would not. I was such a rule follower.
Oh, yeah, I was, but
I was
you
so
know.
afraid of ever doing anything wrong. I was such a
Yeah.
good girl.
yeah.
So your
I
memoir,
felt like I was a good girl.
yeah, you were a
But
good
I
girl.
did. I always felt like I was a good girl.
You
But
were. Yeah.
anyway.
And we'll get into that. I don't think it was you. I think it was society, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
your memoir does take us back to Kentucky in the 1960s, right? And it's a time of segregation, rigid social expectations, as you were just describing. And there's a lot of pressure to stay inside those lines, right? So for readers today who have not experienced anything like that, what did the social rules around race actually feel like for you living in everyday life? What was it like?
Well, my mother was European and she met my dad in the war. She was Catholic. She was brought up very strict among a lot of sisters.
Mm.
And then she came over with my dad after the war. And it was always about what the neighbors would think, be
Oh.
kind. We do not say anything mean about anyone. We're very respectful. We're going to church. It was s- e- maintaining a privacy
Mm,
that the neighbors would know. I mean, it's what the neighbors think is really what it was
interesting.
all about when I was growing up in a small town. What would the neighbors think? And in the 50s and 60s, parents were spare the rod, spoil the child,
Sure.
at least in in Kentucky or, wherever the
Hmm.
South, it seemed like it was more like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I grew
but
up like that too, frankly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. But it was at home, never say anything about anyone, could never make any comments about blacks or, it was all we had blacks working for us when I lived on the farm. Though there were some derogatory comments from my
Hmm.
grandparents that lived in the country and my dad from time to time, but girls were always made to be respectful.
So it was kind of, it was almost even in the 60s, it was for you, it was kind of a more subtle racism going on rather
Yes,
than super overt.
right.
Today, we would probably think it was overt,
Oh,
but
yes,
back
we would.
then
Yes,
it felt
right.
more
Mm,
subtle. In
yeah.
school, was there intermingling of the
Um,
races?
there was only one high school. And when the black kids joined us in the high school, there was not a lot of mingling.
Mm,
I, though, being very friendly like I was, always reached out and spoke and said hi in the hallways and everything like that. But no, there was
got
not a
it.
lot of mingling.
Got it.
No,
Got it.
no.
Okay.
Well, tell us about the man who made you an accidental rebel. Tell us about James.
Well, he was a very complicated young man now that I look back. He was dark. He was appealing. He was tall. He was a great basketball player, and I was a cheerleader. And it was known among some of the guys that I would talk on the phone to the black guys. And I had a private line in our house and a phone line. And it got out that I would talk on the phone. And so then James called me
Mm.
and we just started talking. And he said, I heard that you talked to black guys. Hilarious. And I said, well, I'm just talking. I'm just, and it just kind of kept going. And he asked if he could call. And I knew that I probably was doing something I shouldn't do. And we kept talking and then we met in the cemetery. He ran over the back of the area because there was a certain area where the blacks lived, which was called Bucktown, which now sounds so derogatory, but it's the truth. And he would run over from the back of the cemetery and I would drive there. And that's how we first met each other.
Yeah, I remember that in the book.
Yeah.
Did you Was there something about him that made it feel like the risk was worth taking?
God, I was young. I
Yeah.
think on some level, I was trying to get back a bit at my father, who was alcoholic, who was never there when I had games or when I was
Mhm.
doing dance, or he's just was pretty absent.
Mhm.
So I think possibly I just wanted to kind of do something that I knew he probably wouldn't like.
Mhm. Mm.
However, it was very exciting. I was
Sure.
sneaking around. I couldn't even tell my best friend. And I think that's really it shows that I knew I was doing something I shouldn't be doing, but I didn't want to stop doing.
Right. Right. Interesting. So what you I know from, like I said, having read the book a few times in different scenarios, um I guess I should mention that you now have an audiobook. I did the voice for the audiobook, which was
Yes.
I felt so privileged to do that. I really did. Like
Well, thank you for doing it.
I enjoyed reading it, and I enjoyed telling your story, helping you tell your story. But one of the things I should say, so you guys, there's a lot of trauma that happens when your family finds out. And I don't want to give too much away because I want people to read the story. You guys move into college and you keep in touch, right?
Yes.
And then your relationship continues to progress, having had some breaks in it.
Yes.
What was that like, having to hide your relationship? And you hid it for a long time.
Yes. Well, actually, he started writing me when I was sent away to a boarding school.
Right.
And so then went to college. We were both at different colleges in the state.
Mhm.
And we started communicating on that level, writing, because you didn't, it was different back then. It
Yeah.
was 1970 at that point. And we just kind of started to revisit the relationship.
Mm.
And even though I knew I shouldn't, I just kind of felt like, okay, so you did this, you sent me away, you did these other things prior to me being sent away. I don't know how much you want me to
Yeah,
say.
why were
Well,
you sent away? I
that's up
wanna
to you.
know.
All right, well, July 26, 1969 was the day that my father caught me with James. And I was shot at, choked,
Oh
um,
my
put in a
goodness.
s- put in a psychiatric ward for a week, drugged for being with a black guy, and then sent away to a Catholic boarding school my senior year in high school. And I was very popular, and it was a huge scandal in the town.
Yeah.
Huge scandal with many different things that went on that one day, that day, July 26th, 69, which really changed my life forever.
Wow, that's
And I should
barbaric.
say that boarding school kind of saved you, didn't it?
Yes, the boarding school
Yeah.
kind of saved me to be away. Unfortunately, he couldn't go away.
Right.
He was poor, he had no money,
Right.
and I got to go away, and he had to stay in the town, and he had to keep playing for the team. And
Because he was a star basketball player.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So he had a lot of terrible things go down with him. And and I got to go away.
Yeah.
And and it was all of the trauma from that really has, affected my life
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And still, because writing this book took I was able to get all of this out. It was very cathartic, but it was so emotional. It was very
Mm,
difficult. And I started this when I was 70. And it's like, I can't believe it. It's 57 years later, and I'm still feeling these emotions, and I'm feeling guilt about talking about my parents.
mm,
I'm feeling a little guilt about talking about James, who is not aware I wrote this book. And he is not put in the best light in this book.
Right.
And I know how people change.
Yeah.
We all change,
Right. He may be a completely
usually.
different person now.
And so I feel some sort of guilt about writing the book and saying the things that happened when I was young
mm,
and he was young, and the situation he was thrown into with this, white girl whose father was really powerful, and his mother cleaned homes. And, I have a lot of empathy for what he was faced with, and he never dealt with it well, ever,
mm.
ever.
Yeah. I think that you do a really great job in the book of like parsing out the layers of
Yes.
this. So
Yeah.
there are so many layers because you now understand your own privilege And you also understand that some of the things he did later in the relationship becomes abusive. He ends up
Yes.
being he was an alcoholic as well, right? Yeah, if
Yes.
I remember correctly. And
Yes.
but you also have empathy for that because of what he dealt with, and he
Yes.
had to deal with it a completely different way than you, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think you did such an amazing job of really sort of uncovering those layers,
Yes.
of
Yes.
it's never just one truth, right?
Yes. That's very
It's just
true.
layer upon layer upon layer upon layer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's wild. 57
So,
years is not that long ago in the
No.
grand scheme of things.
yeah, I guess not. And I've had a lot of therapy. I don't know whether he ever had therapy. He was
Yeah.
very private.
Yeah.
And so, it's all these emotions that come to surface when I talk about this book. And like I said, my sisters were not really happy with me writing this book. And initially, everybody said when my parents died, "Oh, the story needs to be told." And now that the story is told, they're not on board. They don't
Mm.
want to know about it or read about it, or and that's okay. That's fine.
Mhm.
But I had to do this. It was a very cathartic experience for me
Sure.
and very emotional. And, actually to this day, still, it seems to create quite a reaction in my emotions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking back on what a what a life with him. With the distance of time and therapy, what did that relationship teach you about yourself?
It taught me how resilient I am, how strong I am. I'm a bit of a hard ass,
Which I love about you.
I have to say. And I look back now and I go, well done, Annie. Well done.
Good for
I've
you.
I've done something I'm proud of. I never was good in school. I graduated from college, but I mean, I was never really felt like that I had ever done anything to really be proud of, I guess I have to say, sort of
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
But I'm very proud of myself.
I'm proud
Good.
of you too. A book can be like birthing a human practically.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, and my son was the one that encouraged me to write this book. There were many times I said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Why do I want to dredge this up?" And he said, Mom, it's such an important story. You need to tell it. You need to tell it." And it took me about 5 years before I decided to move forward with the story. So,
Incredible.
It is incredible, and I have to brag on you a little bit. I started I got to know you a little bit during the, publishing process,
yes.
and we worked together on a few different things in regards to that, and there were definite, "Nope, I'm not doing that. That's too out there. That's
Yeah.
too in front of people." A lot of fear, understandably. A
Yes,
lot of
yes,
concern about, what if this person finds out? What if that person finds out? And then
yes.
we move forward to doing an audiobook, and now you're on a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, you
That
should be so proud of yourself,
yeah,
and the way
yeah,
that you have decided, like when we started talking about doing the audiobook and getting the book out there a little more, when we first started talking about all of that, you were like, "You know what? Let's just do it." Like, I
right,
don't need to be, she's going to be on
right,
some other podcasts. Like, it's great. And
yeah,
I'm very impressed. And I want to say this the right way. Sometimes I am 54. Sometimes as we get older, I watched my parents do this. It is very easy to just say, life is hard. I'm done learning. right? It's
Yes.
very
Yes.
easy to do that and just be
Yes.
like, "I'm
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
Where I am is where I am. Deal with it."
Right. Right.
And you, 20 years ahead of me, have said, "Nope, I'm gonna keep evolving. I'm
Yeah.
gonna move away from that fear," and I find it so impressive considering what you've gone through. So, I just wanted to say
Thank
that.
you. I mean, I've
You are
had a lot
welcome.
of therapy.
Yeah,
That's for
therapy's
sure.
great. We should all have a lot
Yes.
of therapy.
And
That's awesome.
I'm still in therapy. It's been 16 years and every 2 weeks I just need to go in and
Yeah,
just release
I think therapy's
and
a
look at
great thing.
things and look at the reasons why I have made decisions that I've
Mhm,
made. Why did I do this?
mhm,
I understand why I did this, why I've made choices in my life that maybe haven't been the best for me. And sometimes I wonder, what if this had never happened to
who
me?
would I be?
Who would I be? Would I
Mhm.
still be in the small town in Kentucky where I wanted to live in the rest of my life when I was younger? I used to say that. Where would I be? Would
Mm,
I have married someone there? What would my life have been like? But so I'm, you know, I've had a very interesting, somewhat traumatic life, but I'm okay. But I'm
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird when you have to get to the point where you have to look at the trauma in your past and say, "I'm not okay that that happened to me, but it brought me to where
Right.
I am now, and I like where I
Exactly.
am now." And so there's
Yes.
this weird,
Yes.
yeah, I get
Right.
it. I get it.
Yeah.
So I love that. I think I have an understanding of why you finally come forward in a more public manner. But can you describe that? Like just even in the last year, what changed for you to want to be able to say, "This is me, this is my story, I'm proud of myself."
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I my word got out in my small town that I had written this book.
Mm,
And so there were some people that were around during that time that read this book.
mhm.
And so I was getting some feedback, especially from one girl that lived in the neighborhood that I used to play wagon train with. She was like 2 years younger than me, and we
Uh-huh.
used to, in back in those days, we'd leave during the day. We wouldn't come back home
Sure.
until our parents blew the whistle or rang the bell, and we'd come home. And so I played with her a lot, and I remember her dad was an alcoholic, but it
Mm,
wasn't anything that was ever spoken about. We kids just a lot of the dads were war veterans and everything, and a lot of them had a lot of issues, the dads did. And so we never really talked about it, and not probably after the book came out, she contacted me on Facebook and asked if she could talk to me on the phone.
wow.
And we had a phone conversation, and I had not seen her since I was 16. And we had a phone conversation, and she was telling me she never knew a lot of the stuff that was in the book. And she had a story to tell me
Wow.
that I never knew, that no one ever knew. And so she told me that reading that book made her feel like she had had a therapy session and she felt so much better.
Mm,
Oh, that's wonderful.
mhm.
I know.
Yeah.
And she had quite a story that I never knew about and no one else did either. So I think
Wow.
it has impacted a lot. I have gotten letters from people that have read it that said, wow, I never knew how brave you are to finally come out and tell this story. My daughter is dating a black guy. I want her to read it, and I just hope that it that it shows couples now what happened before them.
Mhm,
And I'm not saying it's great now. And I know
right.
there's a lot of divorce among interracial couples. That's a statistic that's
Mhm,
actually in the book. But I mean, I just feel like that if I can just have put that out there, what we went through
mhm.
and the struggles that we went through to keep the relationship going even though it didn't keep going ultimately,
Mhm.
I just hope they can look back and look at that and get some insight
Validation
and
even.
validation
Yeah.
about what they're going through. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But I got to tell you, I think people still look at interracial couples to this day. They're walking in a restaurant, people look,
Yeah. Yeah.
even in LA.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Teenage Annie, the cheerleader in Kentucky, if Teenage Annie could somehow see you today as a published author telling this story, what do you think she would say?
she would just say, "Right on, girl."
Ah, love it.
That's what she would say.
Yeah.
Right on, girl.
She
You
sounds
did it.
like a kick, I have to say. I mean, I adore you, but I see that Annie all the time in you.
Yeah.
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 Yes. Yeah.
So what about those young people picking up this book? What do you want them to take away from this? What do you hope they take away from your story?
I hope that it shows to them a different day and time, that I
Mhm.
think a lot of kids aren't being taught this in school, and I'm not really sure that anyone young is really gonna pick up this book, and I mean, I don't know, what's
You
really
never
gonna
know,
happen
right? Yeah.
or if it's gonna impact anyone. I'm not I just hope that they look at it and they look at a different time that maybe
Mhm.
they aren't aware of, and
Yeah.
the struggles that were going on then, which I think are still going on now.
Mhm.
It was Martin Luther King was shot, and I was in high school, and there was a
Mm.
fight. I mean, there was all kinds of upheaval in our world at that time
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And just to get some insight
Mhm.
into what was going on in the world then, because I honestly don't think a lot of kids really know anymore. I
Yeah.
don't think they really teach that in school like they used to.
Well, whether or
The
Yeah.
not
civil
we're
rights
taught
movement.
it, we live with the legacy.
It's
Yes,
true.
yes,
It's
yes.
true.
Yeah.
Well, we are so glad that you joined us. This has been like I said, I just love you to pieces. And I'm so glad that you've been with us. And I'm glad that Ashley got to hear a little bit about your story.
Yeah, Annie, we're
Yes, me
so
too.
honored to have worked with you on your audiobook and so grateful to have the privilege of hearing it come to life.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, she's amazing.
she is amazing.
We want to thank Annie Waxman for sharing her story with us today. The book, again, is Accidental Rebel, my story of interracial love and loss.
And if you are an author and you're looking to do an audiobook, or one of the things we didn't mention is Annie also has been doing a promotional package with us. If you're interested in any of that, you know where to find us. My Audio Rocks. And thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.